Greetings. This is Charles Darwin. Actually, it's the man who pretends to be Charles Darwin on YouTube. And today, I'm speaking to you from a cemetery in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. And I have just today discovered the grave of my great-great-great-grandmother. Her name was Elizabeth Armstrong, born in 1801, died in 1887. Now, why should I be interested, and why should you be interested? That's what I'm going to explain to you today. First of all, there's a lot of history that's contained within this person's lifetime. Born in 1801 in Tennessee as a member of the Cherokee tribe, and died in 1887 in Oklahoma, which was at that time Indian Territory. How did she get from one place to the other? Well, that is one very interesting part of her story, and that is the Trail of Tears. And this was when the United States, under the direction of President Andrew Jackson, a name not very well esteemed among the Cherokee, decided to relocate the entire Cherokee tribe, at least all of them that they could find, from traditional Cherokee land to Indian Territory, which is now Oklahoma. The Cherokees resisted, but the United States Army rounded them up, put them in what really amounted to concentration camps, and then sent them on a forced march during a cold winter to Indian Territory, and that was the Trail of Tears. This woman was in her 20s when she went on the Trail of Tears, and this time right here seems to be that, though I'm not as familiar with that part of our family history, of her son, who was a little baby at the time. So she went on the Trail of Tears, took a little baby with her. And this is commemorated by a plaque. I don't know if you can see it because of the direction of the sun. It was put here by the Cherokee Nation, which indicates that this was a survivor of the Trail of Tears, and so was this person. So that's why I think that this must be her son. Now, another aspect of Cherokee history that is encapsulated, not within this life, but by this life, is the fact that this was the great-granddaughter of one of the most famous Cherokee leaders, still renowned today in Cherokee history, is one of the greatest leaders of the tribe, and that is Nanyehi, or Nancy Ward. And she was a proponent of peace at a time when there was a lot of strife and warfare going on between the British and the Cherokees, and then later the Americans and the Cherokees. And she's still famous for that. So why am I interested in that? After all, of my various great-great-great-grandparents, I have 511 other great-great-great-grandparents that I don't really think about very much, including all the ones on my father's side of the family, the white side of the family. I heard that from that side of the family we were descended from somebody named General Dinwiddie, but I never really checked up on that very much. My dad said, oh, don't bother checking into our side of the family. If you do, if you go back far enough, you'll come to a tree, either somebody hanging from it by their tail or by a noose. So, of course, I wasn't very interested in checking into that side of the family. But this is the lineage that I heard about growing up. My mom told me about it, my grandmother. All of my relatives knew that we were the descendants of Nancy Ward. This is the lineage that was important to us. And that brings me to the 3 points that I wanted to make. The first is that humans, Homo sapiens, are unique among animals in having a remembrance of our clans, remembrance of our lineages. Other species of mammals recognize their clans maybe for one generation, but after that they don't remember anything about family history, and yet humans seem to be obsessed by it. Many people even more than I am. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is that humans have tribalism. I'm identifying with the Cherokee tribe right now, even though that's only part of my ancestry. And we usually hear bad things about tribalism, tribes fighting each other, etc. But it's not all bad, because a tribe is something that's just about the right size for us to identify with. It's not too large. For instance, I'm also a member of the human species. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. I'm a member of the ecosystem of the Earth, planet Earth, Milky Way galaxy, the universe, etc. But those are all way too big for me to really have any emotional identification with. But we have tribes that we identify with, and that's part of our human nature as well. And that brings me to the third point, that is human nature. It has a biological component. It evolved under conditions before the beginning of civilization, before the beginning of agriculture, Paleolithic conditions. And those are, in fact, the conditions where our human nature evolved. And we cannot pretend that it does not influence the way we feel, the way we think, and the way we have our actions today. Some on the left would like to pretend that our minds are a blank slate. Some on the right would like to pretend that that we have our human nature because of the fall of man. But actually, we inherited human nature from our evolutionary ancestors, both the good and the bad aspects. We also inherited flexibility so that we can, in fact, say yes to the good components, say no to the bad components, and I suggest that that's what we do. These are all the things that I'm thinking about today as I have just discovered the grave of my great-great-great-grandmother. This is the man who pretends to be Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and amen.